All right, y'all. So now let's speaking of people who get into music and don't know what the fuck they talking about. Let's get into MAGA Minaj, aka Trashy Garbage, aka Chun Ki Lee. Because if you seen that picture of her, you would definitely agree with me on that. Now, she decided, I guess, grift into politics. I don't know why. This is why I'm so over rich people getting into things that they don't understand, especially when it comes to politics. So apparently, she was in New York speaking at the United Nations about the persecution of Nigerian Christians. And I'm sitting here just side eyeing the whole thing like, ma'am, you don't even know what the hell you talking about. She's gotten to the point where she pissed off the trans community because she was out here spewing misinformation about immigrants when she is one last I checked. Like you wasn't born and raised in America. You from Trinidad. That is what's on your birth certificate, not the United States. So technically, since you were an immigrant, but you was out here spewing is xenophobia. And you went and said reposted something about like anti-gay, anti-trans. And when your gay fans came out and was speaking about, well, can you speak on this, whatever? Well, imagine people trying to make religion a thing about being gay. And I'm sitting there like, you do know there's a bunch of homosexuals that also practice Christianity, that are practicing Muslims and all kinds of other religions. But because whatever, I don't know what her angle is with this, but let's get into the story. And shout out to um Rolling Stone for really breaking this down, even though I got my own thoughts on this whole situation, but they the ones who really did a story on this and went in regards of like, okay, Nikki is spewing misinformation. Why you got ass kissers like Billboard spewing misinformation along with it, and which has got a lot of her barbs out here screw faced and confused. But I will say this: some of the other barbs, shout out to those of y'all who actually watched the videos, did the research, was looking at it, and was like, okay, I'm done with her bullshit. Shout out to y'all. But those of you in the cult, y'all gonna suck my dick from the back. I don't give a fuck what y'all gotta say on this. So scroll on by because this show ain't for y'all because y'all gonna continue to be drinking her dumbass Kool-Aid that got pee in it. Shug Avery's pee, by the way. So let's get into the story. So, according to Rolling Stone, they said Nicki Minaj spoke at the United Nations headquarters today, which technically was yesterday. That'd be November 18th, calling out what she perceives as extremism against Christians in Nigeria. Saying, I'm going to thank President Trump for prioritizing this issue and for this leadership on the global stage and calling for urban action to defend Christians in Nigeria. Because you know that's how she talk. Like the team stuck together and like she got this crazy ass New York accent. And then this is also asserting in her 4-minute speech that today faith is under attack by way too many places in Nigeria. Christians are being targeted, driven from their homes and killed. Churches have been burned. Families have been torn apart and entire communities live in fear constantly simply because of how they pray. So this is the bullshit she's spewing. Now, before Minaj's speech, UN Ambassador Mike Walls echoed this idiot the nation of persecution against Christians before thanking Nikki for taking the UN podium to demand actions for Christians. Minaj's speech prefaced the panel discussion entitled "Combating Religious Violence and Killing of Christians in Nigeria." Time reporter Eric Cordelesa previously broke news of the speech, revealing that President Donald Trump's advisor, Alex Brussowitz, facilitated Minaj's appearance. The speech comes weeks after she made a Twitter post lauding, a Trump live social post. You know, I always got to change up the wording in here. Um, live social post that claimed that Christianity was under an existential threat in Nigeria. You want to know what's the existential threat in Nigeria? Their oil, which they make a lot of money from. And yet again, we have colonizers like Agent Orange and the people that's in the White House who want a piece of that. With all the, 9 wars, I guess we got so far going on since he said he's eliminating them. We've been in more wars than any other president. Him starting it. So elsewhere in November, she shared a pro-maggot clip posted by the White House's Twitter account, which was soundtracked by her Bees in a Trap hit, as well as a xenophobic, transphobic video highlighting Trump's accomplishments since beginning his second term, which resulted in her losing over 100,000 followers. Trump has asserted that Christians have been persecuted and murdered by radical Islamists and has threatened to invade Nigeria's guns ablazing to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I don't know how this man just fixes himself and be like, you know what? I'm just going to point on the map and be like, I feel like invading Venezuela today. For like blowing up a bunch of fishermen boats, which is what's been going on. 80 people have been killed. Your mainstream media is not telling y'all this, but he's doing that, blowing up fishermen on boats that probably needs to refuel 80 times to even touch American soil. I need to go pick a fight with Mexico. I need to go pick a fight with Nigeria. Why you all going after the brown folks? I need to continue giving Israel money to commit genocide in Gaza, so we can turn their land into freaking resorts and casinos that he probably bankrupt if you allow him near one, like he bankrupted all his casinos in the US. So now it says on September 11th, this fucking idiot, Texas Senator Rafael Cruz, because I don't know who Ted is, and sidebar, there's rumors circulating that he's trying to run for president in 2028. Sir, sit it out. Nobody's going to vote for you. You don't have a rat chance in hell of even winning a seat in your own goddamn house, let alone the house in the White, or let alone the White House. Now they said Rafael Cruz introduced a bill against persecution of Nigerian Christians, but the nonpartisan U.S.-based organization Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project and Council on Foreign Relations, that is a mouthful, by the way, have repeatedly stated that the notion of Christians being disproportionately attacked is a dangerous reduction of the nature of violence in Nigeria that isn't backed by data. Nigerian citizens support their center. Wait, sorry. I got to read that again because there was a period in there. Okay, they said the notion that Christians being disproportionately attacked is a dangerous reduction of the nature of violence in Nigeria that isn't backed by data. Period. Nigerian citizens support their sentiment. Now, in an Al Jazeera op-ed, senior special assistant to the president of Nigeria, Gimba Kakanda, stated every region in Nigeria has both Christians and Muslims living side by side, and conflicts typically unfold during community or regional lines rather than strictly religious ones. Bulama Bukarti, a Nigerian conflict researcher and human rights lawyer, told ABC News that the violence is indiscriminate in a report where an imam stated, the kind of pain we've gone through for the past years, this issue affects both faiths. So when they sit up here and try to make it say, oh, the persecution of Christians, when last time I checked, if you ever check the history in regards of Christianity, they must not like the fact that I talk about Christians and stuff on Facebook, because now it's an issue with the video. But if y'all need to continue to watch this, y'all need to come over to the YouTube and the Twitch. If or maybe it's when you go for a long period of time, I don't know, whatever, we'll continue with this. So um it always seemed like, last I checked, it always seemed like if you read about history and Christianity, Christians have been the ones that have gone around persecuting and colonizing and unaliving a lot of people in the name of their religion. That's what this is giving in this whole situation. So you over here sidestepping and ignoring Muslims, but you all for the Christians. Still, Minaj, like Trump and his conservative comrades, is protecting a misconception that Christians in particular are being assailed in Nigeria, saying, quote, this is about standing up in the face of injustice, she said during her speech, is about what I've stood for my entire career. Well, I don't know what you really stand for, except getting into fights with your female rap ops. And I will continue to, and gaslighting the barbs into your BS. And I will continue to stand for that for the rest of my life. I will care if anyone anywhere is being persecuted for their beliefs. And people started bringing up old tweets that she had written in like 2015 or something other that was saying the same thing. I'm like, that don't mean shit. It's not. That ain't got nothing to do with the price of tea in China. But my overall thoughts on this, I don't know why anybody would listen to this crazy lady who clearly has no idea why Trump is really going off in Nigeria. Like last, let me refresh our memory. This is the same lady who spread misinformation on social media claiming that COVID-19 vaccines cause impotence. So apparently she know how our dicks work when she don't even have one. Trump's little crusade has nothing to do with the persecution of Nigerian Christians. And, as was stated earlier in the article, Nigeria has a large population of Christians and Muslims. This has to do with colonization. What people need to know is that Nigeria is a major oil producer with some of the largest reserves in Africa, though its economy is heavily dependent on the sector. However, the sector faces challenges like oil theft, pipeline vandalism, and past underinvestment, which have hampered production. So when a mainstream celebrity opts to jump on board with Trump's propagandized bullshit, his administration looks at this as a win for them because here they have this A-list celebrity like a Nicki Minaj, and you can call her whatever, the A-list may have diminished over the years with her actions and this and the other. She does definitely have a lot of accolades in regards of her being one of the biggest rappers at the time. But if we need a crash course on how to fuck up your own hip-hop legacy, the course is literally unfolding in real time. But this is the Trump administration, as long as they feel they have a win or an A-list celebrity pushing their BS agenda and she's playing into that for whatever her agenda is, this is what they're looking at. Unless we forget, Trump is the same person during his second campaign run, couldn't even tell a Nicki Minaj from a Nicki Jam. So, at the end of the day, what is she really playing at here? Like, does she think that by aligning herself with the most corrupt president in the history of presidencies, that he will grant her felon husband a pardon? Or maybe her pedophile brother? I just know she tired of sitting in that house punching the air and spewing hours of nonsensical bullshit on Twitter. So maybe what she should be doing, instead of jumping on this fake persecution of Christians in Nigeria mess, why are you focusing on what's going on in Nigeria? Aren't you in America? Shouldn't you be speaking out against the administration's policies regarding how they are handling immigration? Since last I checked, you wasn't born in the U.S., you are an immigrant. But don't take my word for it, because apparently, a lot of y'all be out here thinking that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I came across this Instagram video of this guy by the name of the notorious JTB, who laid out, Nikki jumping on this whole situation. Since, the barbers pride themselves on receipts, one for you. I mean, I brought you a lot of receipts. Here's one in video form. And y'all can choose to believe what you want to believe, because I know, like, regardless of what I say, some of y'all gonna still be in the goddamn cult. Like I said, if you're gonna still be in the cult drinking a Jim Jones Kool-Aid, this is not the topic for you. Scroll on by. But anyway, I'm gonna play this clip and then we're gonna come back and talk. Please hold.
Let me help the Nicki Minaj barbs out here in my comments real quick, because the ignorance is loud and the homework is non-existent. Not only are they ill-informed, but outlets like Billboard are spreading false narratives. While you're defending Nicki like blind, ignorant rats and not knowing what you're defending, the reality is she's parroting false claims pushed by the Felon 47 administration about Christian persecution in Nigeria. And you don't even know what she's talking about. So let me educate you. The claim that Felon 47 keeps repeating is that Christians in Nigeria are facing a government-backed genocide, that the Nigerian state is allowing mass killings, and that the US might need to intervene with guns blazing. Here's what's actually happening. Nigeria has violence, yes, but it's not religious genocide. Attackers target everyone. Muslims, Christians, entire villages, whole regions. A lot of it is tied to land conflict, criminal groups, and Boko Haram terrorism, but not some coordinated government plot to wipe out Christians. That's a lie. A political talking point to justify a US invasion. And experts, analysts, and Nigerian officials themselves have debunked it. And let's talk about the part no barb seems to understand: what a US invasion actually means. If the US went into Nigeria based on this false narrative that Nicki is platforming and advocating for, the cost would be catastrophic. We're talking about destabilization in West Africa, civilian casualties, economic collapse, and a massive refugee crisis, all because a foreign government, the United States, acted on misinformation. Nigeria is one of the largest economies in that continent, with 200 plus million people. A US invasion wouldn't save Christians. It would tear the country apart, inflame extremist groups, and punish millions of innocent people. So when Nikki repeats this propaganda like it's a slogan at the United Nations, she's endorsing something that could cause an international disaster. This is why what Nikki is doing is dangerous, because what she's platforming isn't just concern for Christians. She's amplifying a narrative built on misinformation, one that's been used to justify extreme rhetoric, foreign intervention, and even calls for military action. She's repeating a talking point she clearly didn't research. And here's the embarrassing part. If you're going to defend your fave, at least know what she's actually aligning herself to. Because right now, you're arguing with confidence with zero accuracy. This is about Nikki recycling propaganda she didn't check the facts. And if you're in my comments swinging blindly, you're proving my point for me. Do your homework. Learn what's actually happening in Nigeria. And maybe, just maybe, stop embarrassing yourself in the process. Class dismissed. Let me
Well, I think he said all that need to be said. Well, I already said what I said, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's not that hard for y'all to sit out here and do the research. It really isn't. Like, y'all use Google for every goddamn thing else. When you want to pull up a receipt regarding her getting in a fights with your faves, y'all will find a receipt for that. But then when it come around to actually doing real research where Google is free and is able for y'all to use, all of a sudden, oh, my fingers hurt, or you got a brain aneurysm or something going on where it's like y'all too lazy to do the work, but you got the energy to do it when she's fighting with Cardi B or somebody, or pick a female rapper, because that's all she do these days. But some of the comments that we can get up off this, one person said a rapper with a BBL is suddenly an expert on Nigerian matters and is speaking at the UN. Girl, stop. Another person said Cardi was right about her buttons. They always get them stupid buttons. Another person says she is working hard to get her husband and brother presidential pardons. Another person said he is looking for an excuse to get a hold of natural resources, primarily oil. Absolutely. All roads always lead to colonizing what black people got. White people been doing that since before speech replaced sign language. Well, I should say the colonizers have been. Another person said this is an attempt to land and at a land and natural resources grab. My Nigerian ancestors understand the assignment. Thank you for speaking truth to power. Another person said, as an African, specifically Liberian, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Another person says she need to speak on what's going on in her own home before she go over to somebody else's country. um, One person said, "What is wrong with you people? I am a Nigerian living in Nigeria. Our government refuses to help us." Excuse me. Just yesterday, around 26 school children were kidnapped again. Some priests and crush members were abducted today in a town close to mine. Our government don't give a ish about us. The only hope we have left is the intervention of the no. Girl, you sound about as slow as the rest of them. The last thing you want is an invasion of the Trump administration coming to help you. What's wrong with you? But for the most part, regarding that lady with her dumb comment, um, one person that a lot of people in here seem to be thanking them for speaking up about what's going on um, in Nigeria and all of that stuff. So yeah, like I said, even if it ain't Nicki Minaj, any celebrity that's jumping in here in politics, y'all should be definitely looking into why are they speaking on this and what is the overall angle and what is the history of what's going on over there and why would they be aligning themselves, whether it was Donald Trump in the White House or any other president, even though there's always some sinister agenda that goes on with this administration. So that makes people want to look even more into this story or the reasoning behind what's going on. But any kind of politician or celebrity jumping on some type of endorsement, we should be doing the research before we just blindly follow them into the fiery pits of hell. So, yeah, I definitely want to hear from y'all. What do you think of this story overall? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below.